This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
Oil prices rose on Friday to their highest in over half a year and snapped a two-week losing streak, buoyed by expectations of tightening supplies. Saudi Arabia is widely expected to extend a voluntary 1 million barrel per day oil production cut into October, prolonging supply curbs engineered by the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and allies, known collectively as OPEC+, to support prices. Russia, the world's second-largest oil exporter, has already agreed with OPEC+ partners to cut oil exports next month, Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak said on Thursday.
China has issued 15 million metric tons of oil products export quotas to companies in its third batch for 2023, according to 3 trading sources and 2 domestic consultancies. The volume consists of 12 million tons of refined products quotas, made up of kerosene, diesel and gasoline exports, and 3 million tons of marine fuel, the sources said. The quotas were allotted to Sinopec, PetroChina, CNOOC, Sinochem Group, China Aviation Oil Company, Zhejiang Petrochemical Co. and Norinco, China-based consultancies Longjing and JLC said. The new issue brings the total volume of oil product export quotas this year to 53.99 million tons, up from 34.75 million issued in the same period last year.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
European Union countries are preparing to push for a global deal on phasing out fossil fuels at the United Nations COP28 climate summit, which begins in November, a draft of the EU's negotiating position showed. Diplomats from the bloc's 27 member states are drafting their position for the summit in Dubai, where nearly 200 countries will try to strengthen efforts to rein in climate change. The shift towards a climate-neutral economy will require the global phase-out of unabated fossil fuels and a peak in their consumption already in the near term, a draft of the EU's negotiating stance, seen by Reuters, said.
Indian state retailers' monthly diesel sales dropped in August, while gasoline consumption rose, according to preliminary sales data, as monsoon season dented construction activity and prompted people to use personal vehicles for commuting. Fuel demand in India, a proxy of oil consumption in the world's third biggest oil importer, typically falls during the 4-month monsoon season that starts in June as parts of the country are affected by heavy floods. The state refiners sold 5.94 million metric tons of diesel last month, a decline of 3.7% from July, while gasoline sales rose 3.4% to 2.83 million tons, the data showed. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Iron ore futures were set for a 4th straight weekly rise on Friday, aided by China's new measures to shore up its troubled property sector and boost confidence, although higher stocks and concerns over steel output curbs in China limited the gains. The most traded January iron ore on China's Dalian Commodity Exchange, DCE, ended daytime trading 0.48% higher at 845 yuan and 50 fen, $116.40, a metric ton, rising 3.2% for the week. The benchmark September iron ore on the Singapore Exchange was 0.33% lower at $115.95 a metric ton, as of 07:05 GMT, but rose 3.3% so far in the week.
Gold trimmed initial gains on Friday, but was still headed for a weekly rise after an increase in the U.S. unemployment rate boosted bets of a pause in the Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes. Spot gold was up 0.1% at $1,940.94 per ounce by 1:49 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time, 17:49 GMT, after rising as much as 0.6% earlier in the session. It was poised for a 1.4% weekly gain after prices touched 1-month highs on Wednesday. U.S. gold futures for December delivery settled 0.1% higher at $1,967.10. U.S. manufacturing contracted for a 10th straight month in August, but the pace of decline continued to slow, data from the Institute for Supply Management, ISM, showed.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Indian farmers have planted 39.8 million hectares, 98.3 million acres, with rice, up 3.7% on the same period last year. Farm Ministry data showed on Friday, as record high prices prompted farmers to expand the area. Higher rice planting could alleviate supply concerns in the world's second biggest producer and consumer of the grain. India surprised buyers in July by imposing a ban on the export of widely consumed non-basmati white rice, following a ban on broken rice exports last year. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.